So I've read this book over 3 days. It's 300 pages, so that's 100 pages a day. This book, The Millionaire FASTLANE, has conclusively made me decide that on a long-term time frame or a long-term basis, I'm not going to be employed. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to trade the time I have on Earth, the limited time I have on Earth, for a finite sum of money. And this book's purpose is essentially the whole reason why it's written. It's trying to convince you, it's trying to tell you that that's not the way to live your life. Because if you want the benefits of financial freedom, and I'm talking about the good benefits, not the materialism, which obviously is part of it. I'm not saying I wouldn't be materialistic. What I'm saying is when you want to achieve financial freedom, you have the ability to do what you want anywhere in the world. And doing that through a conventional job is nearly impossible. There's very select few endeavors that you can undertake in the normal fashion to make that possible, and that's essentially where your value is so indispensable, irreplaceable, and sought after that it skyrockets the amount you're paid each hour. What are the examples of these? Footballers, rappers, entertainers. These are people who are so valuable, people are willing to pay extraordinary amounts of money for them to do what they're best at. So what do people like you and me have to do who aren't talented per se at a particular thing people are interested in? Well, I'm gonna try and make a tangible analysis of this. So in a normal job, you get the amount you're paid for the amount of time you work for, and it's a direct link. It's almost, think of it as like a chain. You can't move it. Yes, you can ask for a raise, but that's not going to change much. Yes, you can work more hours, but that's taking up your time, and there's only 24 hours in a day. You have to sleep. You have to live a life. You have to eat. You can't work all the time. So what do? We have to take a different direction to generating wealth. And this way of generating wealth is not necessarily easy, but it does promise rapidness. It comes quickly, relatively, compared to what it would be if you worked a normal job. So what is this method of wealth accumulation? So essentially it's entrepreneurship, it's business. And by business, I mean creating your own separate entity which lives independent of you. Now, I don't know if you're in the US or UK watching this, but that means it's legally separate from your personal finances. And whether that's a limited company or an LLC, as I think it's called in America, or an S Corp or a C Corp, I don't know. But what's important is it's detached from your time. What's important is the company gets the money first before the government. And I'm not saying tax evade or anything like that, but what I'm saying is in terms of control, it's important that your company gets the money before the government does, because a salary and income you get from a conventional job, the government gets that first. So what type of business do we want to create? Because there are types of businesses which guise themselves as businesses but are actually normal jobs in disguise. These could be freelancing roles where, once again, you're paying time for the money you earn. These could be jobs which just require your attention on a proportional time frame. There's no variability in what your time is worth. So how do we create a business which is what this book calls FASTLANE, to accumulate wealth quickly? So the way we do that is we have to form a business which most closely complies with the 5 commandments of a fast lane business. And what's the acronym? It's CENTS. CENTS. Control. If you don't have full control of your company, your income stream could be jeopardized very easily. And that's not good. The second one, E, entry. Understand that as the barrier of entry to starting a business, a particular business, falls, the competition rises accordingly. Now, the most important one, N, need. The most successful businesses are successful because they simply provide value and solve problems. 90% of businesses fail within the first 5 years simply because the owner and entrepreneur is too narcissistic and selfish, thinking about the money they can generate from entrepreneurship. Instead, when creating a successful business, you need to empathize with the consumer and look at it from their perspective. Although you are now a producer, you need to see from the consumer's perspective their fears, their pain points, and the pleasures they want. Because at the end of the day, human nature takes precedent. And if you are able to provide value consistently and to an exceptionally high degree, customers are going to be loyal and they'll also market for you. Number 4, T, for time. This is going back to what the start of the video was talking about, and it is not attaching your business to time. And this is particularly where passive income comes in. There's 5 different, I know I'm going into a different 5-layer construct here within the 5-layer construct I was talking about earlier, but there's actually 6 different passive income streams, and I'm going to rank them from best to worst. The best passive income stream, which isn't attached to time, because passive income isn't attached to time, it just rolls in without your need for intervention or help. Not 100%, it gets worse as it goes down, but the closer it is to the first one I list, the better. So number 0, actually the best, is a monetary system. When you put your money in a bank, your bank pays you an interest rate. Even better, if it's in a hedge fund or is managed by a financial manager, it most likely gets a return which is above the interest rate or above the average return you get from simply putting your funds in the most common equity. And what people end up doing, the richest people in society, is they simply live off the money that's in the bank. They don't use the money in the bank. They simply use the money that accrues through interest and returns on investment through keeping it there. They don't use the money itself, they use the money that's generated by the money that's already there. Number 1, rental systems. This is just Airbnb, just simple rental. Licensing as well, royalties for intellectual property. 2 is software systems, very easy, replicable once it's made. You don't really need to change it unless there's bugs. Once all the bugs have been fixed, it's just breathing itself. Number 3 is content systems. Every time you create a piece of content, it becomes an asset and you don't really need to change it. Of course, every new piece of content, you're having to use your time, but every piece of content made doesn't need to be touched again, and that can keep bringing in wealth the whole time. I've actually forgotten the last 2, so we'll move on to the last letter in the SENSE acronym, and that is scale. If you want to create true wealth through business, you're going to have to either affect millions a little or a few a lot. You can either go through the avenue of scale or magnitude. But either way, if you want to accrue wealth quickly at a young age, you have to heed this commandment. Because if you don't, you won't get the value you're looking for, or you won't accrue the profit that you're looking for. And essentially, that is it. When doing it, execution in the author's eyes is a lot more important than learning. I've heard from other people online that the learning part is harder, but the best strike is probably just 50-50. 50% learning, 50% execution. I feel like I'd get stuck in a learning trap and just keep learning about business, never take action. But the best combination, as I said, is both. You want to learn through action, but also want to learn through learning. And that's it, really. You earn asymmetrical wealth from business, and you don't do a normal job. That's it, really. I highly recommend giving it a read, because there's a lot more nuance and context, which I haven't gone into here, either because I haven't remembered it, or because the videos simply would be too long. So, yeah. Well, it's a great book. Quite easy to read. It doesn't really follow a story as such. Obviously, well, not obviously. I don't know if you find that easier to read. It's sort of like a bit of a textbook in a way, but the whole metaphor it uses is a road trip. You can either take the sidewalk, the slow lane, or the fast lane. And I know that doesn't mean anything to you, but if you buy the book, it will. And just finally, an example of a content system is the book itself. So not Mark Manson, he's a different author. MJ DeMarco has already written this book, and he was already in a position financially where he was secure. So he had the ability to write this, and if it flopped, it didn't matter. But this book has sold over 1 million copies, and it's still probably selling. It's probably sold some today. It will probably sell some tomorrow. It probably sold some yesterday. But my point is this book, which he authored a decade ago, years ago, is still providing value. So is still providing him an income. He doesn't work on it. He doesn't put any time to it. The money simply just rolls in. And that's how his money system is detached from time. Do not sell your time for money. Do not get stuck in a lifetime of indentured servitude. And don't be in a position where you close your eyes and when you open them, you're 40 years old reading this book and not younger. that's all I have for this video. I hope it provided value, and I hope it compels you to buy the book, because the author definitely he definitely deserves the money that's generated from the asset, because it's an amazing outlook on personal finance and building up a business. So if you want to get it. I highly recommend it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.